swagger, okay? Regardless of what happens out there. Doesn't matter. Keep your swagger.
Welcome to the Five Hole Fantasy Hockey Podcast, the fantasy hockey podcast with 15% more holiday spirit. Not endorsed by the FDA, so don't ask questions. We're your hosts tonight, Jay and Alan. Jay in the holiday spirit, because all the three big ones start next week. What is your fantasy hockey wish to Santa?
Oh man, it's gotta be for no injuries and IR plus returns. Best Boxing Day gift ever.
Nice.
What about you, Alan?
I tried to use the website that my daughter used to write Santa, and I asked for the Preds to be like good again, and I got a return email saying what color would I like my dragon.
I thought you were gonna get the return mail to sender. Can't find that location.
But yeah, before we get going here, housekeeping as always. If you're watching us on YouTube, thank you. If you could make sure to hit that subscribe like button. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers to unlock those creator options for us. You can follow us on Twitter/X, and if you're not a big fan of that, we have a Discord. Have about 2,700 fellow fantasy hockey bros and brosidans and brosafinas in there, talking all things life, fantasy, hockey, in the universe. And our amazing website, coded by TJ himself, FHFH.com. Let's get into the league. A couple of trades happened before the games tonight, or as the games are getting going. First one, far less fantasy relevant. Pierre-Olivier Joseph going back to Pittsburgh for this future considerations guy. You know, I'm really hoping he gets a chance to play one day. I think he'll be amazing. There's been some big names traded for him over the years. But the more fantasy relevant one, I feel like this is straight out of like an opening sequence for Always Sunny. They scratch Kako. They're not trading him. Totally not trading him, guys. The gang traded Capo Kako to the Seattle Kraken. And then coming back to the Rangers is defenseman Will Borgen, who is like their current third pairing defenseman, and 2025 third round and sixth round pick. I don't know, Jay, do you think this really does anything for, probably not Borgen's value since he was already third pairing, but do you think this does anything for Kako at all?
Going from, cold and dreary New York to, Twilight version Seattle, hey, literal change of scenery never hurts, possibly. He's also going into RFA, right? That the RFA come in at the end of the year. Maybe they weren't entirely sold on him. Trying to remember who they got as well, because Will Cooley, for example, right? And probably another name that was probably not expected to do very much, so to speak, this early, this quickly. Maybe they're seeing that there's already talent up the pipeline that could be offered and given that extra spot. Oh, who's the other one? Yeah, Lafreniere too, right? Like you have some guys where just in terms of the wing, if Capo just isn't cutting it this early, this quick, right? Like you have this imperfect balance of veterans and an aging core, and at the same time you have these young stalwarts. They don't have time for all these guys to all rush up, and gel together. Maybe they need that success to come a little earlier. And if Capo isn't doing it now, frick, you might as well get a couple of picks for him, and he's on RFA.
And then this one just came in hot off the press. It's a couple of, I want to say, depth defensemen changing places. The Canadians get Alexander Carrier from the Preds in exchange for Justin Barron. I don't think that's fantasy relevant at all. But the other sort of, I don't know, call it a newsline topic, whatever. But why is the state of New York as a whole so bad at hockey right now? Like I was telling you before the show, there was a stat on Reddit that was like all last night, the entire state of New York had one goal for. Thanks for carrying your weight, Buffalo. and like 12 or 13 goals against. Like, what the heck? And you think like two of those New York teams have a goaltender that's easily a top 3 to 5 goalie on any given night. Like Buffalo is now on an 11-game losing streak, even after meeting with their owner the night before, saying, "Guys, we believe in you. Here's a pizza party." And
Yeah, it
then
really
now we
feels
see Kako get traded. Do we think the beatings continue until morale improves with the Rangers? Like, and I know Cousins has been linked to a couple teams. I don't know. What is all of New York just not going to make the playoffs, Jay?
Well, Alan, I think it's a bit of your namesake coming in too, right? Like all the scoring isn't happening in hockey, it's just in football. I think that's what's going on. Like Josh Allen just taking the reins, and who knew all that juju was taking all the scoring out of hockey out of the state of New York as well. I'm honestly looking at the two teams or the three teams there, and Buffalo is in this weird state where the talent in that team, you could argue, is well, they're like the forever contenders in 3 years. And then the Rangers are in some ways almost like forever contenders, right? You could definitely see an avenue where these generations pair up perfectly, where they lock up, line up, and then the guys peter off and retire, and then the new core is just veterans, and they're just solidly locked in. And then weirdly, the Islanders are like the other end of that, where it's just a bunch of vets that you kind of feel are always overperforming, and then if they're always overperforming, are they just good? And then this season happens, and it's really bizarre. I can't tell who to blame when it comes to the team for like Buffalo, right? Like you fire the coach. These
How
guys
many times can you fire the coach and the GM there and rebuild? Like seriously, I just don't get. I don't know. And it's what do you? And they've traded away guys before. Like you look at Reinhart, look at O'Reilly. I'm trying to think of who else. Yeah. I don't think Middlestat was on like Colorado's cup winning team, but like they trade some of these guys and they go on and win it all. It's insane. But we'll see.
But on the Isles, like I remember them distinctly saying that Patrick Waugh had a huge concordance, and it could have just been a happenstance, but there was a huge concordance with difficulty scoring and Patrick Waugh becoming, the coach. And I just wonder a little bit, obviously now that Dobson's coming back alive, like Nelson's continuing his pace. It might just be one where that team has just always done enough on average where, you just need to be an average team to make it into the playoffs. But now,
and it feels like they can't do that. It's so weird. And it's just like I almost and just armchair in it. I almost feel like Lou Lamoriello needs to move on, and they need to younger somehow. But it's just like, how can you do that when most of your trade pieces are guys well on the wrong side of 30, signed to these huge deals?
It's also like they're young guys that need to, like Barzal's had a very perplexing season as well. He's been injured for parts of it too, but just you're sitting there going, he's not a baby or anything. I feel like is he a 10-year vet in the league, Alan? Like he's like he's played in the league for a bit.
But yeah, well, let's go ahead. We'll move on to injuries there. So Anthony Stolarz officially out 4 to 6 weeks after an MRI revealed he's going to need knee surgery to clear out some kind of weird body or something in his knee. Panarin still day to day with an upper body injury, and God, if there was ever like a guy that needed to be playing for their team right now, absolutely him. Ivan Barbashev day to day after leaving Sunday's game. It looks like he was not at practice today either. They didn't clarify if that was like a maintenance day or something. Looks like Victor Olofsson, now that he's back, he saw, I think, the whole power play share on the top unit. I don't know, Jay, do you think he's worth a look if he gets that top line too with Eichel and Stone?
Yes, don't do it in week 11, please. They play 2 games, please. They're both heavy
And
nights. Like,
everyone's
don't do
schedule
it.
sucks next week. Like,
It's no, don't burn. You can burn very many valuable ads, but don't burn one for Olofsson. Oh, please.
and it sounds like
Oh.
Barbashev could be back this weekend, and then you would have already wasted that. But I would say, yeah, if he's out any sort of term, Olofsson,
I mean,
it could
okay,
be a good pickup.
next week is not too terrible, right? Because next week I mean, I don't know. Well, they
Everyone's
play
schedule sucks.
they play the lighter of the heavy nights, right? So maybe, man, guys, next week is going to be huge. Please listen in. Please listen in on the week 12 breakdown, because my goodness, there are four game days. That's your entire week. 4 game days. It's going to be fantasy football hockey style version. It's going to be terrible.
Parataran in the chat, regular here. Is it weird that Harley has the same amount of points as Heiskanen pre-sickness? I don't think so. This is why I moved off of him where I had him, because it's like at best he's not like a 70 point defenseman.
The real sucky part too is that you could end up with that state where it's like Wyatt Johnston. I pulled the guy up the other time because I dropped him, obviously, but he's now ranked like top 150. You know, like which indicates that he's been doing pretty well recently for him to crash all the way up from 200, 300, all the way up to 150, right? So it's certainly possible that Heiskanen still turns it around, but Allen is absolutely still spot on in the sense that Heiskanen is just a better real life hockey player than he is a valuable fantasy asset.
There we
just
go.
is what it is.
And last injury, Vitek Vanacek, the Sharks, out for at least a couple weeks with an upper body injury. Askarov got the call up. With Georgiev doing Georgiev things, do you think Askarov is worth a spot start or two, Jay, if he gets start? He only has a sample size of 2, but he put up some very respectable numbers. Granted, they were against LA and St. Louis, but their next few matchups are guys like freaking Edmonton, Colorado, Vancouver, like guys that would just pummel them. Do we risk, rolling the dice on Askarov?
Edmonton really frightens me right now. Like Edmonton is barn burning. Like that team is crushing on the offensive stat sheet, and if they're losing, it's not because they're struggling to pot the goals. Like they're just getting outshot, outscored, which is nuts to say out loud when they're putting in like 4 to 5 goals a night. If you really just need volume saves, for sure, because they'll pound the rubber. But PT, man, oh, we miss you, bud. I love you, man. Did we want to circle back quick to Circler's question, though?
Yes, Circular in the chat pointing out Seth Jones due to return soon. Now's the time to check the wire in competitive leagues. I agree. There's no guarantee that Vlasic keeps power play 1. Like I know I had him in a spot and I kept, I've had him on IR the whole time. Just because I didn't feel like playing with the wire to try to find something better. But yeah, no, I'd say maybe now would be the time to try to buy low on him.
And I mean,
if anything,
the thing with Seth Jones too is he's just like in my mind a non-Stanley Cup winning Drew Doughty, right? Like the guy just will vacuum up all the minutes necessary to be played, and it doesn't really matter if he gets he will get the power play time regardless. It's going to be power play 1 or power play 2. They're not going to bump him off both of them. But the big one is more so
you want the Bedard unit.
Right. You do want the Bedard unit for sure. But the key point is everything about Chicago is valuable in fantasy and relevant to fantasy, to the point where if he doesn't get the PP 1 time, it means they're going to save him for all the other shit time. And if you want him on the shorthanded minutes, right, because that's where he vacuums up the blocks, you want him, to have fresher time on 5-a-side, so he's smacking in, and they're not going to get possession. They're the Blackhawks, so he's going to be able to get you all the hits and whatnot. So there's no downside to getting that sort of Seth Jones player that can rack up minutes and play that sort of, like heavy crunch time. And don't worry, he doesn't do anything on the power play or doesn't even get power play time. He's going to do everything else. If he gets power play time, hell yeah, dude. Bedard on the power play? Fuck yeah.
But there we go. So we have some returns. Victor Hedman returned last night versus Columbus. Thank God. And we need Thor back. Alexander Barkov, I just got the confirmation Alexander Barkov is returning tonight at the cost of now Sam Bennett is now, from Paul Maurice, according to Paul Maurice, that Bennett played ill last game and is now paying for it this game. Yeah, illness is just going around all over. And then last one, I just saw this one come in too. Nikolaj Ehlers returning this evening against the Ducks. So hopefully you have time to get him in. Should have no problem getting him in because it's a pretty light slate tonight.
Who loses with his return, Perfetti?
Oh man, what's that lineup?
Let's see. So he's got 1 goal, 2 assists, 4 shots. Okay, PT. Wow. Well, Barkov is going to have a big night tonight. Nikolaj.
Hold on, pulling up the. So it looks like. Oh, they don't have an updated lineup yet. I almost wonder. So right now that second line is Perfetti, Nemestikov, Chibrikov. I imagine Chibrikov's probably the loser there.
Ehlers didn't get PP1. I was remembering if he was there over Velarde or not. I just don't remember.
No, I think Velarde was top line since the season started for the most part.
Okay.
And then so that takes care of news and injuries. Time to reach into the mailbag.
You've got mail.
Mailbag.
So first one
each time.
DJ68 in Discord, 10-man points league, no hits, who is an equal forward trade target for Dougie Hamilton. That's a toughie because looking at Dougie there, he is the 7th ranked defenseman. So I was trying to find guys that weren't in like those elite first round forwards, but maybe like peripheral guys, like I don't know, maybe like I was looking at like a Kyle Connor. Like probably right around there. Probably forwards you would have drafted in the second round. I don't know, Jay, do you have any ideas there?
Well, I'm looking at my leagues, but I realize all my leagues count everything, right? They count the face-offs, they even count penalty minutes, they count game-winning goals. So I'm trying to look at all those and filter them all out. Names that are popping up early here, though, like where do we stand on guys like Scheifele or Tavares? You know what I mean? Guys,
there we go. Well, Scheifele's going nuts this year. I would, yeah. No, that was that, and again, he was in that range too. Tavares, I don't know. I guess I don't keep up with Leafs enough to know what Tavares is up to. Like what?
He's 15 and 13 in 30 games. That's like 2 points shy of a point per game. More goals as well. And crucially, since they don't carry any, hits or nothing. But neither of the guys, they're allergic to hitting, right? They basically do 1 hit a night. So, doesn't matter. So, maybe those guys? Kind of interesting, A league that counts blocks and no hits.
Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, there we go. So, probably, again, guys that are probably point-ish per game at the moment. Those guys, those pure goal scorer guys, like I said, like Kyle Connor. But moved on, Costa and Discord. How long does the Rangers slump last? I've got Trocheck and Kreider with the latter underperforming super hard. I know, man. You know what? That was when I saw that trade. I was like, that's a weird way to spell Chris Kreider. But I don't know, man. I don't think this is just something like they're going to get out of it like tomorrow. Like it'll be great. I was like, I didn't feel good starting Saros against the Rangers last night. But then when they got shut out, I'm like, oh my God, like something is clearly just broken in that room. I don't know if it's Laviolette goes. I don't know if it's the GM goes, like more people get traded, like something. I feel like it's not a simple, they're in a slump, they'll dig out of it. I feel like there's going to be like a front office change or some sort of personnel change.
It's a strange team to throw it back to. Like this is like going back in probably like 8 or 9 years, right? But the way the Rangers operate in the East kind of reminds me of like all those teams in the West that used to be like, it's almost like an insert Californian team Like, not the Kings, obviously, right? But like you put in the Ducks or you put in the Sharks, and it was like they'd be these guys that do well. They'd be filled with vets. They'd be filled with like, like some point getters, go getters. And then you look back there, and somehow, some way, it feels almost like all those deep playoff runs that they made, they should have damn won at least one of them. Because like the way they're playing now and like sailing into the sunset, it feels horrendous. It right. Yeah, I guess Quick killed their soul that came back to watch the damage. And Quick, great analogy, because he was the goalie in the one Californian team that could win it, and now he comes over. And you just need guys at the end of the time where it's a mix between Stanley Cup champs, with that, that sort of like they've actually gone through and done the whole way, and then a bunch of guys that are crazy hungry. You look at their team. Who do they have?
Well, that's why it's the hungry guys that were actually doing anything in New York right now, like Will Cooley.
Right. And it's tougher. Like it's possible because clearly Bobrovsky got the bag, did jack, and then went in the playoffs and was like, I am Bob. Like I can do this shit, and then just turn it on. But that's not every single player. When you have guys earning as much as, like, frick,
Panarin with that.
Panarin,
what is it, like
right?
11 mil or something?
And pretty much Panarin, like, he was in Columbus, and they had a stacked lineup in Columbus too, right? Like, for him to leave, he obviously wasn't leaving just for roses and that. He was kind of like, the things that come, I guess, that you like to live in New York or whatever. It's kind of worthwhile to argue that, okay, like if he's there, he's gonna have that sort of influence again on a. Anyways, nah. Alan, it makes me sound like now I'm harping on Panarin. It's not.
No, again, it's like I said, I think they got the talent. I mean, like I said, they have probably a top 3 goalie on any given night.
It also wears on a team when you make all those deep. Like, actually, yeah, you're a Tampa fan. At a certain point, your goalie fucking breaks down and gets back surgery because you can't do it.
He's tired of carrying the team. I think this is a front office change. This isn't just Laviolette throws the lines in a blender and they are suddenly good again, or they call up some dude. I think the answer is front office.
The other one I would say strongly is, let's look at the standings of this team at the moment, right?
After last night, they're at a 5-0 points percentage.
And they're sitting out of the playoffs, for sure. They're struggling to score. They're negative and everything. There are huge concerns, definitely. Okay, having said that, what was that one Florida team? Like, they won the President's Trophy and then got bounced, by Tampa. And, like, that's the Huberdeau year and all that jazz. And then what happens the year afterwards? They couldn't gel the entire season. They barely squeaked into the playoffs, and they made it all the way to the final.
Yeah.
If you gave me this Rangers team right now and said, hey, look, cool, we're going to bounce in and out. But which would you rather have? Like, you might be missing 1 or 2 names, but you're going to get home ice advantage all the way through. Or these schmucks are going to, get a bunch of free skates, but you're getting a wild card spot. They don't need the home ice advantage with these vets, Like,
right. But you still got to make it to the dance.
You do.
But as far as timeline, who knows, man? Maybe those 3 days off during Christmas, they'll figure it out. But next, AA Ronk in Discord. Stolars, who should I be looking for as a replacement while he is out? So looking at some of these goalies under 50% owned or less, you got both Detroit goalies, like Lions back tonight. Talbot should be back this weekend, it looks like. You got the Ducks tandem, Vejmelka. Honestly, it probably is sure a thing as a starter right now. Like, I feel like Vejmelka, at least, I don't know. Have you heard any timeline, Jay, on when Connor Ingram's coming back? Because I can't remember.
He's sitting pretty on my IR. Like, I'm just basically treating it as, he's taking vacation, so to speak. I am
check and see if he missed out on the Blackwood sweepstakes.
Heck, Wedgwood, right? Wedgwood too. Same vein on the other side of it.
If they give him starts, I don't know. Mrazek is, I think, just upgraded to day-to-day. And he'll give you good rate stats, but the wins will be sparse.
So I would say if he's upgraded day to day, like for the rest of this week, for example, Soderblom's going to get what, 3 remaining, probably 2 starts for the remainder of this
I don't
week.
know. Given the Blackhawks last few games, I don't know if I'd recommend Soderblom.
Well, the
I'd
crazy part
say
is
wait till
Arvid
Mrazek gets
Soderblom,
back.
the last 2 games, 5-3 win, 3-2 win against the Islanders and the Capitals. So like when he gets pumped, he gets absolutely booty blasted. But when it's, like when they turn on, holy shit, how is Arvid Soderblom still above 900 save percentage, man? This is insane. Like, man is working wonders with what he's being given. And
Just
man
think,
can work wonders
depending
for
on
you.
when Seth Jones comes back, like that'll improve the team around either Mrazek or Soderblom. I don't know. I kind of think that Detroit tandem. Because last weekend preview when I was on TJ, like it was a goal saved above expected per 60. Talbot was one of the leaders of the pack.
But he's out.
So again, well, no, he's supposed to be. Word is he's supposed to be back this weekend. Like Lyon comes back tonight, Talbot comes back Friday or Saturday. But I would look at them, the Ducks tandem. I would say most of these guys under 50% owned. Like there's gonna be games where you just get blasted, but and Veggie. Yeah.
Veggie.
There you go.
I'm trying to remember where Kemper was because Riddick is not getting as many starts now that Kemper is back, I think.
But I think Kemper's got to be well owned, especially since it seems like since he's comes back from injury, he's been great.
100%.
Yeah, 68%. So he's just go check. He's around the same level as Blackwood. Actually, where's Vladar?
Vladar? Man, now that you said it, I'm like digging around to find Kemper.
Because Wolf is about 60 something, but Dan Vladar 7%. There we go. And Calgary, man, at first it just seemed like they were punching above their weight class, but they're okay. They could end up being buyers at trade deadline.
I don't know, man. Like the problem with the Pacific too is there are a bunch of even-keeled teams, right? Like Vegas somehow is still always at the top. LA also somehow always at the top. It's the defense for LA that's keeping them in it, right? And the Oilers are the opposite. It's the offense that's keeping them in it. And once you have those 3 positions locked, you're kind of just fighting for wildcard spots, right? And who are they competing against in the wild? Like, okay, San Jose and Anaheim, they phoned it in. Sorry, Sharks fans or Ducks fans. But like, so you look at the rest of them, like the Canucks, Demko's back, right? Gonna split starts with Lankinen.
Mm-hmm.
On the other end, like, holy moly, what is this Utah Hockey Club doing? How many games have they won in a row? Oh, just 2. But like, still, like, this team under Veggie, I guess, just start Veggie forever. And like, is this the way to go? Just roll on from there? Like,
I don't know. So, it's now we're talking, can he sustain a starter's workload? We don't know. But there we go. Yeah, even Vladar, wild dark horse there. And then Swiss Cheese in the Discord, 12-team head-to-head Cats redraft. Goals, assists, plus minus, power play points, PIM shots, hits, blocks. He's looking at centers right now. He just picked up Celebrini, which not a bad choice. Right now his straight centers are Tavares, Celebrini, Norris, and Zibanejad. He's asking drop Norris and Zibanejad if he has to / cannot find a trade partner, which happens. There are some leagues where people just have like a severe allergy to trades. Now he's talking. I would say if you drop Zibanejad, someone will pick him up. Norris at this point, I think. I know I looked earlier today. I should have made a ton of notes on this. I think Norris is pacing right around 60 points, maybe right below it. But the ones, so I think Norris might be droppable at this point. But looking at the wire, you got Brock Nelson, Bo Horvat, Gabe Velarde, Lindholm, Kent Johnson, Monahan, Cousins, Terry. I like Terry personally for the off nights the Ducks have. And Dylan Cousins, I love as a speculative ad. Again, because I mentioned at the top of the show, like it's not, he's been linked to a couple teams. Sorry, I know one of them was just Elliot Friedman like spitballing a trade with Vancouver, but it seems like Nashville is also a team that gets brought up a lot as a destination for him. And I'd say, man, kind of a real center in Nashville, like Cousins playing with some of these guys that need centers like Stamkos and Marchessault. Yeah, I honestly, I forget what his point pace is, but yeah, I like Cousins as the speculative ad. Troy Terry for your off nights. But I would only drop Norris, not Zibanejad, in case New York does figure it out.
My main one really is Swiss cheese. I hear the idea of dropping a guy and feeling terrible about it. Just actually consider. Okay, first, I guess have to know the answer is how many guys and centers can you technically start on a given week, right? You can lose a league if you were given, if you had 12 rosters to play every night and you had the 12 best centers in the league, you would lose every single week, right? You can only get as good a team as a team you can start. So the thing with centers is just every one of these guys they're not dime a dozen, so to speak, but they are dime a dozen in the sense that centers are clearly easily the strongest and most influential and best fantasy position. And at the same time, they are there's no position to start. You know what I mean? Like every utility position you see is just an extra center position, really. So look at all your guys, man. You have some bona fide studs, but I'm telling you, your wire probably still has some chalk bona fide centers as well. And which means any guy that ends up getting taken and picked up, so to speak, like all your centers, you're going to have another guy that's like Kadri or something, right? Kadri gets dropped and then they pick up Zibanejad. And it's not that Kadri is definitely better than Zibanejad or whatever, but it's just they will serviceably do enough on a week-to-week basis where it doesn't make that much of a headache difference. So I would say, look, you spent some time adding Celebrini, right? For all these guys now that you own, frankly speaking, you drop Norris, I don't think you're worrying. And maybe Allen's just correct in that way, where if you're really worried about it, you can drop Norris and then it's he's probably going to be on the wire. But then anyway, if he was performing so well, why did you care to add a Celebrini instead? You could have just kept him. True. How many All-Stars does Zibanejad have? Don't tell me he's outdone. Don't tell me he's outdone. Anyways, not gonna get in. And PT, I hear what you're saying with Norris as well. The thing with Norris I'm realizing is his point totals are so crappy comparatively. He's 12 goals, 8 assists. Not that it's shit. It's just compared to, some of the other guys that you're comparing to. Like Tavares, for example, is point per game almost. But the thing is, Josh Norris in my all counting league is still 17, right? So he's 17th despite doing jack shit in terms of comparable other points, which means you look at his periffs and they're disgusting. 60 plus shots, 80 plus hits,
So you're saying drop neither?
Don't worry. Don't worry. When it comes to centers, just look for the schedules and check from there. Check from there and run from there. If those guys get dropped and you drop them, so to speak, and some other guy picks them up, all it really means is now you have an additional streaming spot. So I would say for D, for example, be immensely patient. For right wingers, be immensely patient because there's nobody else. There's literally going to be no other wire option. Centers, who gives a shit? You're going to find some other center you've never heard of before, and they're still going to be able to project.
Well, see, and that's why personally I punt centers in the draft, just all holding them because any given week, if you want to stream someone, I mean, how many episodes have we done where it's hey, we want to stream from this team, but this guy's center only. You're not going to be able to fit him in. It's just you now don't have to worry about that. You have that availability, that flexibility to start pure centers.
And there's always Robert Thomas, even if everyone else is gone. There's always Robert Thomas.
So are you saying drop neither of them?
I'm saying he obviously picked up Celebrini, right? So if you're picking up Celebrini, there must have been a reason. Like, and I'm going to say this too. Like, did you
Because
get him
he's
just
pretty
because
good
he
at
had
that hockey. Like,
right?
really, I
So
mean, like him and Mishkov are neck and neck for Calder.
yeah, it's reminds me of those trades where like the guy dropped what? Not dropped. Like he traded in a dynasty league Bedard straight up for Celebrini, and you just kind of, I guess,
That's not bad. I mean, we
yeah,
won't know the winner of that trade for like 3-4 years.
years, 100%.
So there
But
we
I
go.
would
I'm
say
saying Norris.
of those two, Norris is Zibanejad. Zibanejad, I think, is the way higher ceiling, just way higher ceiling. But I could see it if you wanted Norris as the floor. I would just say the problem with Norris too is not only does he have a lower ceiling, I think a lower ceiling than Zibanejad, he also has a worse injury history. So factor that in mind. That's all. But reasonably, they're both centers. You could probably drop.
All right. So moving on, little Ferg and Discord. So he's wanting to trade Natchez and wanting to know what kind of players he could target for them. So I think when I looked today, it was like Natchez was on like 115, somewhere between 115 and 120 point pace. I would try to target guys that could get around there, like point per game, 90, 100 points that maybe are underperforming. Like when I saw today, Austin Matthews is only on a point per game pace. Like I feel like the more astute fantasy hockey players will not take that trade. But if you're just looking to straight swindle someone, I think that's a good one. Pasta, I think, is hovering around projected to be like 80, 85 points. And we know that ceiling is higher. Yeah, try to find those underperforming like first round guys, maybe second round guys that like got taken in the draft, and see if you can swindle one of them. You have anyone off the top of your head, Jay, or looking at someone?
See, I'm just looking at it right now, and he's what? Like, mind you, this is again the league that counts everything, right? So
He's like top, I mean, in real hockey anyway.
40.
He's like top 10 in points.
Top 10 points, yeah.
Yeah.
He's okay, and so what? He's got 3 points in his last 5. Okay, and then 7 points in the last 7. Yeah, like the big one I would struggle a little bit with Natchez is he's kind of in the same boat where I would find like Frank Vetrano from last year, right? Or like even this year, like Kiefer Sherwood from this year. I'm not saying they're the same type of player. That's not what I indicate. What I mean is they are players that have such an outsized performance comparative to what they have been assumed, like what we have accustomed ourselves to thinking of them, that why would you want to trade off of this guy? The only reason you would want to trade off of it, really, let's be frank, is we do not buy the sustained production. We do not buy and believe.
We shouldn't. He is shooting significantly above his career, but it's like, okay, well, he's at like 116 point pace now. Where does he fall to? Like 90?
Right.
Like, good God, for a guy that I know I took him in like the 12th round. Oh God. So that's where I've struggled to. I've thought about trading him, but I'm just like, well, why?
You're not going to get better 12th round value. You know what I mean?
I've had other guys in my draft that were a bust. Like this guy is like pulling his weight. He's picking up for some of my guys that missed. Like, why would I move off of that? But yeah, if you really think that it's just unsustainable, you want to move on from like a hot potato. Target those guys are well above point per game guys, and target that are underperforming.
But here's the thing, like I do think there's a bit of a tamer expectation that needs to be said to the listeners too, Alan, where it's like if we're saying Austin Matthews or whatever, Austin Matthews for like Natchez is.
I'm not saying the smart people will take that, but I'm saying like if you don't know any better and someone offers you, that's how you sell it. Is like, yeah, this guy's gonna get like 120 points this season, man. Like Austin Matthews, he's a bum. He's washed.
The non-fleece. Okay, that if you can swindle that trade, by all means, go for it. I will also say though, keep in mind these managers, if you end up in a league with them, you do not want the moniker of the swindling manager because nobody will.
You can only do it once.
You can
Make
do
it
it once.
good.
You can do it once, and then nobody will trade you ever again, right? It's like you better friggin' win. You know what I mean? PT, just helping us, going for us. So the other one I would say is you could go the other way. Like Nature's right now, if you don't buy that the ceiling is going to remain as high as it is, and you don't buy that his floor is going to be just as high as it is, you think his floor is going to bottom out, right? Then the other angle you could try is you could try for a player that is underperforming now, but you think has a safely agreed upon higher floor. So if I was to dig through some of these ones, for example, Pasta, I would still like both Pasta and Matthews. I think would be quite a reach, but if
It's
you
a
could
reach.
somehow
But I'm
land
just saying,
that,
like,
that'd be huge.
those are great examples of guys that we know are like well above point per game guys safely.
Absolutely.
And they're just not doing that. They're not on pace for that right now.
As a comparable, for example, like far more achievable and attainable, especially for, you know, I guess, which name are we talking about again? I'm trying to find like
Natchez.
a name that's particular. Natchez. No, sorry, I meant like this is Swiss cheese. No, this is which comment was this one in?
Lil Ferg.
Lil Ferg. Okay, Lil Ferg. Sorry. What about if you scaled it back and like, you know, rolled some expectations a bit? But what if you targeted a guy per se like Timo Meyer, right? Like a Tim Stützle, like guys that are definitely still like, you know, racking it up and, you know, like doing something, but like, you know, they're doing it in different ways. Like Tim Stützle is another guy where you're saying, okay, he's like producing at a stupid rate. You know, like right now, what's he at? 39 points, 31 games. Like that also seems like this is really good. Like, whoa. But maybe some folks would say that and they look at the two and they go, okay, maybe I want to be on, you know, the other end of it. Maybe I buy the Carolina side. I don't really think Ottawa, you know, is all that hot shit. I personally would buy the Ottawa side, right? But you could see that angle where it's like two guys that are crazy hot, and maybe maybe it is Natchez. Like who knows, right? One of them is going to top out above the other at the end of the season, and maybe you want to, you know, inject some volatility there and get some of that Tim Stützle sweepstakes. And on the flip side with Timo Meyer, like he is ranked so high right now with just Perifs. Imagine the opportunities. Just imagine, right? Like you have that crazy floor. That floor we're talking about is exactly Timo Meyer style, right? Where, hey, you don't buy Natchez's ceiling, that's fine. Why don't you secure the Timo Meyer floor? Because the Lord knows it's a floor at PP2 with the upsell option of PP1 potentially.
Well, there we go. And then last one from the mailbag, we got Circular in the Discord. Any reason to keep holding Stankoven? He's got a good schedule this week, but who cares if he is a cardio merchant? Yeah, I'd say no. Looking his last, I don't know, dozen or so games, yeah, he's not good. And like outside, like real hockey factor to consider. Sagan on LTIR, Dallas can load up like at any time. And that's just going to push Stankoven further down the depth chart. Yeah, no, I'd say safe to drop him.
16 points in 28 games is...
Yeah, but I mean, look at like, it's like 2 points in his last, like what, dozen or so games. It's not a guy you want to hold long term.
Yeah, no. Yeah, that's toughy.
So we both agree and drop?
Oh, yeah.
All right, sweet. And now get into the weekend preview. The only team that has the better 3 games in 4 nights, Thursday, Friday, Sunday, only team that has that is Colorado. You still have a few guys available there. Lehkonen and Nichushkin are 60%, so they're probably not available. Just go check on Ross Colton, 41%. He's getting top power play at the moment. And Casey Middlestat probably available in most of your leagues, 20%. But kind of like Jay and I were talking before the show, he's probably maybe a little bit better real life hockey player than fantasy. And I know he's been pulled off that top unit, so his value drops considerably.
Who the heck is Parker Kelly?
Was he third line guy?
I was like, what the heck is he doing in my league, and why is he so high in terms of? Oh, he takes a ton of face-offs, and he does everything in terms of shots on goal, hits, and blocks. Right. Okay.
There you go. So if you need riffs, it sounds like Parker Kelly's your guy.
Kelly. Random left wing dude. Okay. Who the hell is this guy?
Yeah. Anything else? Anything for Colorado or?
Oh, geez, I don't know. It's Alan. It's that eternal. The crease is the real value in Colorado, man. It's the crease. I just don't like.
Yeah.
It friggin' annoys me that I was working when everyone else saw the trade news, and I could just see the pings from Mackenzie Black.
Again, I saw it like weeks ago and was like, I'm just gonna hold on to this guy. Like, he gets all right. He was already getting decent stats or rate stats on San Jose, but I'm like, if he does go, I'll never have to worry about goalies again. So teams that have the Friday, Sunday, Anaheim, most of those top guys should be well available. Troy Terry, Ryan Strome. If you need riffs, like we've said before, Bash Brothers, Gudis and Truba there.
PT is speaking truth bombs here.
Next up, Carolina. Probably throw a dart in the wall. I grabbed Martinook for the last couple games last week. I was very happy with that stream. I think he got me kind of like 2-3 points in those two games. Florida, Lundell, 32%, still a nice hold / stream. Especially while one of Barkov and Bennett is out. It looked like in the lineup today at practice, it was Lundell was second line with Reinhardt, who I'm pretty sure he scores goals. So you want the guy who might get in on those. Anyone else? I think Florida. I think TJ at the beginning of the week just said like Ekblad. Check on him because it looks like he is still getting power play 1, maybe Forsling.
I checked. A lot of the guys like with Florida are so jacked and taken off. Like it's because you're looking who like Lindell is the guy that we already suggested at 33%. Frick, like I was looking even at like Mikkola and like Luosterainen. Like it's I don't know, man. And those guys are like 1%, 3% owned. It's brutal, Alan, out there. You're doing it for the schedule, basically. You're doing it and I would say Anaheim is the real value, obviously, for that setup. Like if you can land any of those guys, you're way more golden than going for like a third liner or fourth liner.
Rangers, Will Cooley, just go check on him. Seems to be the only one that kind of cares on that team at the moment. I don't think there's anyone really with riffs. Keandre Miller, I think, is still out at the moment. I don't think any of these new guys are going to contribute much. I think Berard is who's playing with Zibanejad and Kreider right now. But I just, hard to recommend anyone on the Rangers right now, especially after getting shut out by Nashville. Lord.
Like maybe Braden Schneider if you need like some sort of peripheral coverage, right? He's almost at 50-50-50 in terms of, shots on goal, hits and blocks, but yeah, it's slim pickings.
Moving on, we got Capitals. Protoss still at 28%. PLD, Pierre-Luc Dubois, 27% owned. Just saw stat. He's got 21 points in like the 30 games so far. I may have kind of misremembered this by some kind of margin of error, but no, he's actually kind of putting it together in Washington. It seems like it. I want to hope that both Laine and PLD have completed that trade and they finally found destinations that will unleash their potential.
There was that comparison, and I can't help but think of it, right? Where it's hockey players, it's the inverse of the big guy hockey player, the big guy hockey player and the little guy hockey player, right? Where it's like the little guy has to keep playing to prove that he can make it. And the big guy basically gets to play until he plays and proves that he can't make it, right? And
PLD.
Yeah, exactly. PLD. He's given so many chances everywhere. And
then probably last guy, Taylor Radish. He's getting line 1 time for some reason, but power play 2. If you want to believe in, I think that top line is Radish, McMichael, and Strome right now. I don't know who we thinking. I think Matt Roy's back. He's a good source of riffs.
Oh shit, too. Ovi's skating now, right? Do we
He is skating. I think the latest I saw today was they want him to actually be a full participant in more than one practice before they get him out.
Yeah.
Then Utah Hockey Club. Shoot. Just go check on Cooley, 42% owned. Nick Schmaltz could do Nick Schmaltz things, and that could go either way. He's 23% owned, but he's line 1, power play 1. I'd say most of these guys are available, Jay, except for like probably Sergachev.
Maybe McBain as well.
Yeah.
McBain, 7% owned.
And then back-to-back goalie stream options. Buffalo's versus Toronto at Boston. I'm going no. No.
It's check the other options first. Don't lock in on Buffalo yet.
And Detroit, Montreal, they're doing one of those interesting little like 2-game series this weekend. So it's the first game is at Detroit, the second game is at Montreal. Like I said, Alex Line was just activated, readily available. It looks like Talbot should follow on Friday. I think those are very winnable games for Detroit.
I'd agree. Well, the thing is too, like, Frank, I'm going to check Monty. Monty's probably available as well, eh? Like Monty's not. Monty's 60%.
Sam Montembeau. Yeah. I think Sam Montembeau is not available.
Not available.
Oh, Primo is Primo the backup.
Primo is 1% owned. Like the same way Primo could steal a game, right? But right. I mean, at that.
And then once again, hat trick Line could show up and blow out whoever's in net for Detroit.
It's possible as well.
Next up, Minnesota versus Utah at Winnipeg. I mean, I think Fleury's starting tonight. It sounds like they plan on Gustafsson being back this weekend. If not, I mean, Wallstead should be highly available, but I want the Utah start. I do not want that Winnipeg start.
But
I think I'd rather start Wallstead, like a high pedigree prospect, over Fleury at this point in his career.
If you're in that state anyway, you might as well just try to get the Utah guy, because the Utah guys, Frank, like if you get a chance at getting Veggie, like if Veggie was available, I'd really rather get Veggie there.
And then Toronto at Buffalo versus New York Islanders. Trying to think. So Stolarz is out.
Oh,
you got Hildebeest.
I don't know. He got the win last time.
Okay, I was about to say, but wasn't it like 6-5, like total?
It was like barn burner.
Pyrrhic victory. Like you don't want that. So it sounds like either you can't or don't want them. Okay,
it was
5-3. Okay,
it was 5-3, which is not.
It's not bad. That's not bad.
Yeah.
So it'll at least get you most likely a win, if that's what you're chasing. So Saturday, Sunday, you got Edmonton versus San Jose versus Ottawa. So yeah, Pickard. Especially against San Jose. Probably let a couple in, but they should get the win. LA, you got versus Nashville versus Washington. I'd say against either team, I'd say Riddick's not a bad start. He was very serviceable while Kemper was out, and the Kings are just super stingy lately, giving up goals.
What's their setup? Like 70, like in a division where everyone is 90 plus goals against, and one team has 122 goals against. Shout out San Jose. They haven't let in 80 goals yet. That's crazy, Alan. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
What are they?
And it's crazy. It's like somehow they said they were moving away from like very defensive 1-3-1 hockey, but they're still playing very defensive hockey.
Yeah.
And there we go. So speaking of Kemper, like it sounds like that PLD Kemper trade could be a win-win-win scenario for both teams.
I could see it. Yeah, it's a weird one too, right? Like PLD, oh man, like let's be frank, Alan, this is not supposed to be a ceiling. You know what I mean? Like he was a top line dude in Columbus.
Oh, yeah.
Oh man, I don't know. Unbelievable.
But moving on, we got Ottawa at Vancouver at Edmonton. I don't want Forsberg against either one of those teams, right? Because they stand the potential to blow out, I think, Ottawa. Seattle at Vegas at Colorado.
Ooh. Ooh.
Grubauer could be available, but he just got pumped against the Lightning,
Yeah.
who were without like half their decor. So no, that's a no for me, dog.
Oh, Grubauer.
So next week prep, we do have a few teams that have the Sunday Monday overlap. Anaheim being one of them. So there we go. You pick them up for Friday Sunday. You get the Monday start too. Carolina, another one of them. So Florida and Tampa are also playing like a little mini series Sunday and Monday. And they have those two games. New York Rangers, for what that's worth. Utah also wraps Sunday, Monday, and Washington. There isn't really a best schedule for next week. It's like everyone pretty much plays 3 games with one or no off nights. It's bad. There was literally no hockey the 24th through the 26th. Anything else you gotta add, Jay, before we wrap it up?
Please hold on to those ads. Like I would say all those guys probably for this weekend, like figure out.
That's why I'm wondering if you target some of the like Anaheim, Carolina that have those games where they wrap to Monday and get that extra get that extra game out of it.
Well, you have to, right? Like all the guys that you were going, like for example, let's say Florida guys. Florida guys had like the perfect off night this week, right? You definitely just want to hold on to those guys and then like max ads next week, like on Tuesday, burn them all, right before your kids, get in.
Yeah, when your kids wake you up at like 3 a.m. to open presents. Yeah. There is when you burn all your ads.
Because it's the Christmas spirit to clearly remember in that joyous moment of Yuletide joy. God damn it, I have fantasy hockey obligations, Alan.
But I guess that's it. We'll go ahead and wrap it for tonight. As always, thanks you for listening. And like Parataran said in the chat, man, like this freaking video. Pretty please. Good mental health, everyone, and we'll catch you later.
We will pick you up later.